Once upon a 9 p.m. dreary, I was trick-or-treating around the neighborhood with my younger brother. The two of us were having a magical time until we knocked on the door of a neighbor who took it upon himself to make sure we truly deserved those 10-cent fun-sized Snickers bars. Customary greetings of trick-or-treat and happy Halloween were exchanged before we dove for the cauldron of candy, but that wasn't enough to appease the guardian of Halloween. He swiped the cauldron out of our reach and scrunched his face in scrutiny. "Are you two in middle school?" he asked dubiously. "No," I replied, wondering what some intrepid middle schoolers must have done to incur his wrath. He still clutched the candy cauldron, pondering his next move in this game of wits that my brother and I had unknowingly stumbled into. Finally, he broke his silence with a riddle that could stump even the most learned philosophers. "Are you sure you're not in middle school?" For a moment, I wondered if we'd ever escape this quagmire of insanity, if the candy was really worth the loss of our very minds. What could us being in middle school possibly have to do with, I suddenly understood. He thought middle schoolers were too old to be trick-or-treating. With inspired confidence, I stared down this cursed candy golem and replied, truthfully, "No, neither of us are in middle school." Giving us one last look of incredulity, he finally relented. My brother and I took our hard-won candy and made our way back home as heroes. Or as Goofy and Zorro. My memory's a little fuzzy, and as we bid the Sugar Sentinel a final happy Halloween, I wondered if the true prize was not the 10 ounces of chocolate our mother would be stealing later, but the satisfaction of outsmarting a genuine monster. You see, our family, for generations, has been cursed with youth. Neither of us were in middle school, it's true. We were both high schoolers, and I was only a few months from graduating. Full disclosure, I work at a place where I handle food and make drinks. Starbucks. This story begins last night when I thought I was suffering from severe allergies. I'm rubbing my eyes and going about me normal business for a closing shift. The store closes, all is well, and I come home to get some much needed rest. Flash forward to 6:30 a.m. this morning and a very sleepless night. This girl has swollen eyes and a runny nose. Nothing is well here, and the boyfriend mentions Pinkeye to me. I've never in my life had Pinkeye before, so I don't even know for sure. I shoot my professor an email saying I'm missing class in favor of hitting the doctor's office up when I wake. 10 a.m. rolls around, and I'm still plagued with the swollen eyes and impossible congestion. I text my assistant manager on the way to the doctor saying I might have pink eye and that she should find coverage for tomorrow because most contagious quarantines are 24 hours. In the time I'm waiting for her answer, pink eye is confirmed and I'm prescribed meds. Whilst waiting on the meds, my assistant manager calls me and asks why she needs coverage for the shift tomorrow. Did he say not to come into work? Pink eye isn't highly contagious if you don't touch anything. Well, 1, we handle food, and 2, yes, it is highly contagious, and I don't want to get the rest of our staff sick. I tell her this as kindly as possible, and when she still refuses, I pull out the documented fever. Still a no-go, and she asks for a doctor's note. Fine then. I'll get you a doctor's note. After grabbing those meds, I head back to the doctor's office and ask for a note. I explain that my assistant manager needs this note and proceed to explain that I handle food beverages in my line of work and come into contact with many people. She immediately makes this confused face like, why would you even need a note for this then? Just excuse it? Yes, me too, lady. Me too. I then ask her how many days I need for recovery and she asks, do you want to go back Sunday or Monday? I said F it. I was initially going to miss one day of work to get over the contagious period, but the assistant manager just wanted the doctor's note. I told her Monday. She signed the form and handed over with a lovely smile. I thanked her and sent it to my ASM, who now has to find coverage for 2 of my shifts instead of just the 1. Don't ask me to come into work with some sickness I can pass on to other peers or customers. I will fight back. This one is short, so let's get started. I read Reddit stories a lot, more than I should, to be honest. I stopped reading them as much as I realize it's bad for my eyes. Well, my dad told me but same thing, but I wasn't going to give up a chance for some malicious compliance at the time. The main reason my dad wanted me to stop reading Reddit on my phone was because the letters were too small, thus staining my eyes. He told me how I used to read a lot of books and books have bigger letters, so you should read them. I knew he was right, but I still wanted to read Reddit stories, so I pulled out a next level thick dictionary with letters equally as small as the letters on the Reddit mobile app. As he was driving me to school the next day, I was reading the dictionary and said, "Wow, these letters are huge." Translated, with a grin on my face. He suspiciously looked at what I was reading and burst out laughing. I've told him about malicious compliance. All in all, this still ended well as my dad let me read Reddit as long as I started reading books more often, which is a win-win in my books. So I work in finance and my bosses are quite wealthy. They're humble and kind people, but sometimes it makes me uncomfortable how little money means to them, and yet they can be very cheap sometimes. X. $43,000 fence for the house they're building from the ground up. No problem, here's a check. Versus, I need a new desk because half the drawers are broken and the finish is worn off. It's fine, clients don't care what your desk looks like. So it's Halloween, the only holiday I actually enjoy, and I come into work planning on running across the street in a while to buy candy for the kids. One of my bosses gives me $20 and says, "Here, go to the store across the street and get $20 worth of candy." Perfect, $20 is gas for the week. Now one of the reasons I love Halloween is because typically candy goes on sale the day of in certain stores when they realize they're still overstocked. So I can get candy for a good price today and even better price tomorrow for my sugar gluttony. I go to the store and it's actually BOGO free, so I buy double what I normally would and what my boss expected. I come back into work and the look on his face is priceless. He gets a little annoyed because he's cheap and obviously I could spent less. So I reminded him he didn't say here's $20, get some candy, but instead here get $20 worth of candy. So now kiddos are going to get double the candy and my boss can't be mad because I followed his directions exactly. Although now I'm on copy duty for the day, which is fine. I did it for the children. Sorry if this wasn't malicious enough. I'm not sure if this is malicious compliance, but I think it does fit here. A few days ago I messaged a guy who was selling a car on an auction website. I offered him $150. He said he will let the auction run. The auction had no reserve and nobody else was interested. It was at $2.50 when it was about to close, so I bumped my bid up to $10 just because I felt sort of bad. The car has a few major issues, but I can patch them up, so it's good enough for what I want it for. A good long time ago I was waiting tables at a restaurant next to a cinema. It was a good place, cool people, reasonable pay, very few of the usual hospitality issues. The only fly in the ointment was the shift manager. SM was an egotistical bully and loved pulling stunts like last minute schedule changes. I came on board at the start of winter, which was their busy time. I was a contract worker in another field and earned enough cash working a few contracts a year, and I took hospitality jobs between contracts mostly for meeting people and having something to do. Because of this I wasn't reliant on the job and had a deal of autonomy. One day we were especially rushed and a few steaks were ordered. While carrying them out I noticed that they were fatter and juicier than normal. Chef got a good order, so I started recommending them to the costumers. Even though they were the priciest things on the menu, they started flying out the door. I had a good 15 steak orders until I noticed that the quality had dropped off. Chef either ran out of the good stuff or had switched stations. No probs, I stopped recommending them to customers. This was noticed by SM, who was dying to have a go at me that day. He told me in no uncertain terms that I was to get back to selling the steak. The temptation to quit in the middle of the busy service was there, but I went back to work and served another 15 plus steaks to a room of around total 100 diners. So 20 odd steaks were served sub-paragraph. This caused quite the reaction from disgruntled customers, as you can imagine, and I was more than willing to provide them with the manager's name, not the chef's, with which to complain. The ensuing tide of angry, irate customers that demanded refunds was great to watch. I came back into work the next shift to get a mouthful from SM. It was another busy night, and that's when I decided to quit. We get home. In the driveway. Instead of letting the 5 and 3-year-old turn the backseat into WWII for the 8th time today, I say okay, I'm going to carry this stuff in. And when I come back, whoever is quietest that's who I'm letting out first. I come back, and he is screaming. What is going on? Little Miss Psycho 3-year has reached over and scratched him. Hard. So head scream. Now you can let me out first, mama. Like, honestly, this was a well thought out plan and true stone cold killer sociopath move. Little Miss 3 ain't got time fo yo crap. She gonna shive you and step over yo body for the last juice box. Thank you for watching. Slap that like button and comment your opinion on these stories below. I'm waiting. Write that comment. Seriously. Have you written it yet? If you don't comment, you make a bunny cry somewhere. You're not that kind of person. I know. Anyways, peace out and catch you tomorrow.